One. And we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. That's how you say it. Welcome to the Kevin Barry Show. I'm your host, Kevin Barry. And today we have a freaking awesome guest. This guy has been a friend of mine since kindergarten, since we were both 5 years old. And we've both had a very long journey. We've recently come together again only a few years ago to start on a journey of entrepreneurship. And now 2 years into that journey, we're sitting down to talk about basically the experience we've both had and how we both have transformed with basically a sense of commitment, passion, playfulness, and a whole lot of love for giving value to people. So my guest here is Zane Cole. Zane Cole, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem, man.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, you're christening the whole show. This is episode number 1.
I know. I'm a part of history. This is going to get millions of views one day.
100%.
It's like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos doing their first interview together.
Yeah, pretty incredible. Either that or like Joe Rogan and his friend. I was telling you before the call, their first call ever or podcast was like just them talking to a camera, turn on the snowflake filter effect, and it never turned off.
We should do an effect.
Yeah, we should. Don't you have a couple backgrounds you can use?
Oh yeah. So for business, I like to do this one here. Like I'm doing a meeting in my Lamborghini. Works every time for business calls.
Yeah.
Or I could be at the beach. So
yeah,
we'll get into that later when the call gets a little bit more fun.
Yeah. No, I know you got a third one that's really good, but we'll save it for the end here. So just to start this whole off, I don't know how you feel about the introduction I just gave you, but how would you introduce yourself? What is it you're doing right now? And yeah, but what do you have going on right now?
I don't know. I've never really thought of titles for myself besides like entrepreneur.
Right.
So obviously just like you, I've been doing this for a little over 2 years, just about 2 years now. Specifically online entrepreneurship, starting a bunch of online businesses. But now I'm doing just more of one-on-one consulting. So helping people start their own online business, turning what they already know into a business. So I guess you could call me like an online business consultant. And my goal is just to help people, not make the same mistakes that you and I both made during our journey of starting dumb little businesses just to make cash and businesses that didn't really mean anything. My goal is to help cut the learning curve and cut that trial and error and help people get to something they really want to do that really fulfills them and brings them a substantial profit.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that sings right to my heart there. And I want to talk a bit more about that because I think when people think entrepreneurship, they think of some guy with a Lamborghini doing this with his hands in front of the Lambo. And right now, so you said you do one-on-one coaching, right?
Yeah.
I want you to walk us back to square one. Where did this whole journey start? Because one-on-one coaching to some people may sound like, honestly, very, very simple, right? Like, I think a lot of people, when they think about getting into business, is about some crazy new idea or something that's never been done before. Or they're just thinking of kind of a very popular trend that's a gold rush, like the modern day gold rush, so to speak, Bitcoin, something like that, like real estate. But what you're doing is just kind of very simple, straightforward. You're coaching, you're helping people get their lives together, do something meaningful and make money too. So tell us how you got to point B from point A. Where did you start 2 years ago?
Honestly, it probably started before 2 years ago, ever since I was in middle school, maybe even a little bit before middle school, when we played online multiplayer, what do you call those, MMORPGs or whatever, massive multi
story.
Yeah. And just having that online avatar, and I was able to like accumulate wealth with this little character online and like get to a really high level.
Yeah.
And kind of like leverage the free market in these games to get things that I wanted for my character,
Right.
And I think that really kind of started everything. And growing up, I wasn't in like a wealthy family by any means, but I always wanted stuff. I always wanted the new video game. I always wanted material possessions when I was like 10 or 11. Um, and so I think that's sort of where it started, because I knew, whenever you see wealthy people, they usually own a business. So honestly, up like through my whole adolescence, up through my teen years, I knew I wanted to have a business deep down, but I didn't really know what exactly I wanted to do. I had no clue. College was kind of my first business, freshman year of college. And it wasn't like, I didn't go in thinking of it as a business by any means, but it just kind of turned into that.
What was the business?
So, um, my college roommate freshman year, he had this really, really funny picture of him, like half naked. He was hammered on like our dorm bed
Yeah.
and with a bag of kettle chips. And I didn't take the picture. Someone else took the picture, but they turned the light on and he's just naked, half naked with this bag of kettle chips. And he like looks scared, like a deer in the headlights. And they took a picture. And I saw the picture and I thought it was the funniest thing ever. And he went out of town for like 4 or 5 days to visit family. And one of my friends said, like, it'd be funny. It wasn't my idea. One of my friends said it would be funny to put that picture on a shirt. So like, I actually did it. I put that picture on a shirt, and and the shirts actually got here when he was out of town. But the shirt got here when he was out of town visiting family, and I just wore it to a party, thinking nothing of it, just thinking of it as a funny shirt, and people went crazy over it. I went to a party I was in a fraternity. I went to a party at my fraternity, and everybody wanted the shirt, and like I didn't even need to sell it; they just instantly wanted it. So I think I got 50 or 60 orders from this T-shirt.
Wow.
My margins weren't great. I think I was buying this shirt for like $12 and selling it for like 20 or something like that.
Wow.
So my margins weren't great, but it was like my first experience kind of learning about demand and I guess having a good product, right? Because I didn't even really need to sell it. So yeah, that was kind of my first business. And then I dropped out of college my sophomore year. I was doing mechanical engineering my freshman year, moved to business my sophomore year, but realized that Oregon State, college, that whole thing wasn't for me, because I thought it was funny that all of my business teachers never actually had ran a successful business.
Right.
They were just reading out of a book, But I dropped out sophomore year. That, and also the fact I couldn't really afford it anymore. I started to work at the gym that I worked at in high school. I had a relationship with them, so they just let me come back and work there for the time being. And then I found out so I was just a receptionist at the gym. I was just checking people in. I found out that the owners were hiring a digital marketing manager. So I applied for that job. I got hired. They changed my title afterwards to digital marketing assistant just so they could pay me less. But I worked that job for.
That makes me think of regional assistant to the manager from The Office.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I went from manager and they changed my title to assistant afterwards. And I was furious. I was like, what the heck? I go in like the day after I get hired and they sent out a mass email. Welcome, Zane. He's our new digital marketing assistant. And they're like, oh, sorry, it was a typo on the hiring, the job post. And, I just took it at the time because I was like, I'm 19 and this is a good job for a 19-year-old.
Right.
I was wearing a button shirt, slacks, had a cubicle and everything. So like I made it in my mind. I was successful, right?
Yeah.
Started spending a ton of money on stupid stuff. But that was my first introduction to digital marketing. And I wasn't running ads or anything really. I was just doing like managing their social media and doing videos and stuff. But fast forward a year later, after working that job, I see I want out. I want a way out, and I'm trying to figure out how to start a t-shirt business. I want to start a clothing brand. And so like after work, I'm on the treadmill, I'm on the bike, and I'm just watching YouTube videos, how to start a t-shirt brand, how to start a successful clothing brand. And I was watching interviews from this guy named Bobby Hundreds. He started a clothing line called Hundreds and made millions of dollars. It's a pretty successful clothing line. But one night while I'm watching these videos on how to start an apparel brand, I see like unrelated how I made $18,000 in one day as a 16-year-old. Mm-hmm. And like, I know those videos are usually BS, but it sucked me in. I clicked on it. And this kid, he was talking about something called drop shipping and how he was at high school all day. And while he was at high school, he made $18,000 just selling products that he never had to see on the internet. And I was like, what the hell is drop shipping? You know, and here I am trying to raise all this capital, save money to start a t-shirt brand and an apparel brand. And this kid is making $18,000 in one day when he's 16. So
Right.
I started researching right after that. It was January 17th. That was the day that I found drop shipping. That was the January 17th, 2018, I believe.
Wow. What possesses you to keep memorization of that date?
It was really just like, see, before I had traditional business in mind. You have to raise all this capital, buy product, buy inventory, and start from the ground up slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing this kid do it and make 18 grand in one day, not seeing any products, that exposed me to the opportunity that there really was on the internet.
Right.
And that you didn't have to start a traditional business. You didn't have to get a storefront anymore.
And how did you know this kid wasn't just like a liar or a scammer? Like, how did you know his results were legit?
Well, that was my initial thought. He just did the thing where he showed his screen or his Shopify app on his phone and refreshed it.
Right.
I started looking at his other videos. I looked at the comments, and like most of them were positive. They're supporting him. So I was like, what the hell is this drop shipping thing? I've never even heard of this before.
We had a lot of social proof. A lot of people saying like, yeah, this guy's
exactly. Yeah. And he wasn't the only channel either. You know, there's a ton of channels once I looked it up.
Right.
But I looked up what is drop shipping, and it was like that simple, you know, when they have like, there's like a voiceover and it's like, this is what drop shipping is, you know, when there's like a marker drawing it.
So many of those.
Yeah. And like it made complete sense to me. I was like, whoa, this is actually really simple.
Yeah.
Someone orders a product from you that looks like an actual brand, you know, which in a lot of cases it is a brand, and you just order it from China, right? Simple as that. And send it directly to their house without ever having to see a product. Just take margins off the top. I realized that a lot of really successful brands, like Movement Watches, Fashion Nova, they started from drop shipping. So I was like, whoa, this is fascinating. And that same night, when I saw that video, it was like 7:00 at night. I was super tired from work. I had to work the next day.
Right.
It was like a Monday or Tuesday. But that same night, I opened up a Shopify store. The next day at work, I was just researching. I was just like, every time my boss went into her office, I would bring up Shopify and figure out how to do it. But long story short, I started like, you know, you want to find a problem in the market, just like any good business. You want to find a niche that has a problem to solve. But I didn't know that. And most people don't know that, right? When they're starting in business, they're trying to like think of an idea in the shower, like $1 million idea, or follow their passion and think of an idea that people want rather than finding a problem first. So long story short, I started a bunch of drop shipping businesses that didn't really work out. My first one, I was brainstorming with my girlfriend. I was like, what would people buy? What niche should I go in? And she was like, well, people like elephants. And we were just in Thailand a couple months before. I was like, you know what? People do like elephants. I'm going to start an elephant store. And I designed this store that was awful. And I designed these little cartoon elephants that I would put on like the hat. My grandpa ordered a hat for me. I called my grandpa. I said, hey, grandpa, just to let you know, I started a business. And he's like, wow, great, Zane. And I sent him my website and he ordered an elephant hat.
And you drew the elephants?
And I designed the elephant in Adobe Illustrator. It was this little cartoon elephant. I went all out with the logo. I went all out. I had like an error 404 page, you know, when there's no, when it's not actual link, and it's like an elephant that's like, you know, and so I drew an elephant for every page.
Yeah.
I met up with my grandpa. He was wearing the elephant hat. He didn't sound super hopeful for my business. But, I had, with the little money that I had saved, I tried to launch an ad to that store. So everybody was talking about how you got to launch ads. You got to do ads to your e-commerce store and it'll blow up. You'll make a ton of money really fast.
Right.
And so I ran my first Facebook ad without knowing what the hell I was doing. And I went to Eugene the night to hang out with some friends. And when I woke up in the morning, I spent $400 and I had like 7,000 visits to my website. And they're all from India and China and Bangladesh and not people that actually want to buy.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell did I do?
Or even people that can afford American prices.
Yeah, exactly. I just didn't know what I was doing. I talked to the Facebook support and begged for my money back. They gave me my $400 back because it was all the money I had. But
How sweet. Wow.
after trial and error of starting different Shopify stores, I finally landed on something that, I had some success in, which about, my Three Pines brand, my watches, my wooden watches.
Mhm.
And really I landed on that because it was something I was semi-interested in. I knew I could take good photos of it, of the watches, build up a brand. And the manufacturer actually put a logo I designed on every single
Yeah.
product. So to me, that was like more like a real business.
And I'd love to bring that up real quick too, to show people what you're talking about here. So,
Oh yeah.
because the account still exists, right?
It should still be up. Yep. So I ended up selling the business about a year later. But
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah, here it was. There you are, man.
there I am.
Yeah.
I think you even maybe took that next picture after that. I don't know. Somebody I know I was with you with that red car right there.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, memories. Yeah, and this is a very professional looking brand. And so this was your third business at this
Yeah,
point?
I guess you could call it that. I just had a bunch of different Shopify stores that didn't end up working. And this is the first one that I really found some success with.
Yeah. So this was your first ever successful case study when you were like, okay, there's something to this and I'm capable.
Yeah. So this was the first time I had ever made money. And I literally just I added someone on Facebook and I convinced them, I talked them into buying a watch. So it wasn't even from ads or anything.
Wow. How did you talk someone into buying a watch? I mean, isn't it simple as like, hey, does it look nice or not? Like, did you
Yeah.
convince them that like telling the time would be a good idea or?
Well, I just talked about the quality of the watches and how
Yeah.
they're wooden and super unique. And the dude was like, cool. And he bought like 2 or 3 of them. I was like, I was stoked. I felt rich.
And how much were you selling per watch on average?
I believe I was selling them for about $150 to $170, and I was purchasing the watches for about $25 to $30. So I was making decent margins.
Nice. Yeah.
If you sell 1 or 2 of those every day, that's enough to get by.
100%. I mean, if you're doing that, you can get a new car, you can get a new place.
Yeah.
That's nothing
Yeah.
to see that. So that's really cool. Like showing the potential here. And you can also see that you were able to put a lot of your skills in design into practice here with like the logo and the pictures you were taking and all the editing of all the photos.
Yeah. So I think my limited background in photography really helped me out with this brand. Because as you can see, people bought from the photos alone.
Right. And that's awesome. And I just really want to show this to everyone. Like, this is what came out of pretty much sheer creativity. I mean, you knew about drop shipping, and then what little you had with that, you kind of just applied your, artistic abilities to, and also just your interest in fashion. And just like that, you had a business. Very simple.
Yeah.
And I remember when you came up with it, I pulled up this photo. It was one of the first photos I ever posted on my Dudeberry account. And this was back in May 11, 2018. Not even 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Not even 2 years ago.
Not even 2 years.
Which is going to sound so much more fantastic as we continue along with the story here. But yeah, I just wanted to show that there's you and Isaac. God bless him. Rest in peace. Hope he's doing well. No, our friend is still alive. I'm kidding. But yeah, that's incredible. But yeah, please continue. So with Three Pines, it was going. You knew like you could do something. You could convince someone to buy off just talking to them. And
Yep. Yeah.
Please. And before we do continue, just to distill the story thus far, basically it started, in middle school when you're playing like online games, you became somewhat of a capitalist. Like you were able to make bank in like RuneScape or MapleStory or World of Warcraft. You knew how to play the system. You knew how to get more money. Not to say you're playing the system today, but you still have that same, basically just kind of love for gaining, for playing the game of business. And you knew that in a fictional world. That translated to your first ever business in college. You saw your buddy half naked with kettle chips and took a picture, sold that on a t-shirt to everyone on college, correct? At your college, right?
Yep.
And then that translated to a Thailand elephant hat. And then that translated to Three Pines watches. And please take off from there.
Yeah. I wish that sounds a lot easier than what I went through, but
Yeah. How long is that so far? So between Thailand Hats and Three Pines, how much time is that?
Well, like I said, that was January 17th. I probably got that elephant store up by January 18th or something like that.
Okay.
Blowing through a few hundred or a couple $1,000 later, just literally on my paycheck.
Right.
I got to Three Pines. I believe I started it March 1st or March 2nd, the beginning of March. I put in the 2 weeks to
Okay.
my job, March 15th, with
Wow.
no money saved whatsoever. Um, my mindset was like, all it takes is one day where I just make 30 grand. Um,
I want everyone listening to take in consideration this super cliche lesson that I think we're seeing evidently true so far in your story, and we're not even halfway through. And that's fortune favors the bold. You knew what you wanted to do, and you were just kind of committing to it. You're like, if it's a freaking elephant on a hat, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to change my lifestyle. And once you had basically a proof of concept with your watch business, you knew it could work because it worked on a small scale. You decided to quit your job. Do you know the phrase "burn the boats"?
yeah, yep. I like to use that one.
Hey, please explain to us real quick before you continue on your story.
Um, so I'm a huge believer in, when you're working a full-time job, especially being 19 and having an office job, when I'm thinking I'm successful, all my coworkers are in their 30s, 40s, 50s. So I was like, damn, I made it. And, I was just comfortable there. And when you're comfortable in your job and your situation, especially when you have to pay the mortgage or pay bills, you're a lot less likely to start a business and have success with it. And I was working on my business for like 2 hours every night. So I was working from 8 to 5 every day. I would go and work out at the gym afterwards until like 7 or 8. I would get home maybe 8:39 and literally work on my business until like 11 or 12 o'clock.
Right.
And when you're doing that, you just have no willpower. You're exhausted from the day and you just want to go to bed. You just want to relax. And, like I said, you're comfortable. You're comfortable. You're getting a paycheck and you're paying the bills. So I knew, and I didn't have substantial success. I knew to make it work, I had to make it my only option. And that's just the type of guy I am. I think there's very little you can do to completely F up your life where you can't come back from it.
Yeah.
And so I said, fuck it, I'm going to quit. I'm going to put in my 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was only there for a year. I think they were expecting me to be there for the rest of my life. Like I said, it was a good job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I quit my job and I was like, I have to make this work. I had no money. I had maybe a few $100 to my name. But because of these guys on Instagram, on YouTube that claim to make a gazillion dollars in a day, I was like, all it's going to take is just 130 grand day. And I'll be like, fine, I'm going to be completely good.
Retire.
Yeah, exactly. And long story short, that did not happen.
Yeah.
I never even got to like 2 grand in a day. So,
With this
um,
business. Yeah.
with this business.
Right.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think it's very important that if you're, like they say, there's no best time to start. It's the best time to start is right now. So that's kind of what burning your ships means. I think it was what was it? Some like general from Spain or something.
Probably that or Alexander the Great. Basically, the sum of it was that this we'll just say Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great would go to the shore of a land or an area he wanted to conquer, and then he would turn around and tell his soldiers, his army, to burn their boats. So that way, their only option going forward was to conquer.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
it.
exactly. The specific story that I remember is their army was way smaller than the land they were trying to invade. So the
Yeah.
soldiers started getting scared and say like, no, fuck this, let's go back. And so to stop that,
Right.
just like starting a business, just like becoming an entrepreneur, you got to burn your ships. Because if
Right.
you have that job, if you have that comfort, you're never going to make it work because you have another option to fall back on.
Comfort zone is where we go to die, so to speak. That's why they call it
Exactly.
a deathbed. It's comfortable, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So amen to that.
Yep. Yeah. So then Three Pines was born. The last day of ever of my job was March 29th. And from there on, it was full time into Shopify, into entrepreneurship.
The fact that you're, this is actually really common, but the fact that your first digital marketing assistant job, the fact that they were kind of expecting you to stay there for the rest of your life. I mean, in my personal story, it's that kind of thinking that scared the crap out of me, because there's nothing that
Yeah.
motivates me more than having like autonomous freedom of like
Yeah.
my time and like where I'm going, what I'm doing. I
Exactly.
remember when I was like 5 or 6, like first day in kindergarten, and I learned that I had to raise my hand to go to the bathroom. I was like
Yeah.
offended
Yeah.
that I had to ask permission for that, you know?
Exactly. You go through school, you go through college, and you're thrown into a job, and you never really have too much freedom where you can figure out, okay, what do I actually want to do?
Yeah.
Um, you know, and a lot of people don't even get to travel the world because they're just school, job, and then work there for the rest of life and maybe have a
They,
week off every year.
yeah. They never have a second to think for themselves, to put 2 plus 2 together.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's just kind of what it was. I was already getting fed up with my job. That's why I was looking for the start a t-shirt brand.
Right.
It wasn't fulfilling me. I wasn't being challenged. I honestly it was a big property management company that owned many properties. They owned the gym, a retirement home, apartments. So I could just walk around and kind of do what I want, really. And I was like, what am I doing here? I'm kind of just wasting my time.
Yeah.
Um,
And, and,
so,
and and something I want to commend you on real quick is, I know a lot of people that want to get into business for themselves, want to get into entrepreneurship, but they actually get hung up on kind of the status and the pride thing, like especially in the Instagram age, where it's like you have this image you also want to keep up to. Like, not only do you want to look rich, but you want to look cool and inventive. And you want to be
yeah,
Elon Musk and making all these crazy businesses. Um, I really respect you for just saying like, it doesn't matter what, even from the beginning, it doesn't matter like so much what I want. It's like, what's going to make money? What's going to fulfill a demand, right?
mhm,
Because you were interested in the principle of it. You wanted to live a better life.
yeah, exactly. And the comfort zone stops a lot of people, but also I think it's just what people think of them. And all my friends, I mean, were sort of envious of me because I already had this decent job. I had an office job. I was in a cubicle,
Yeah.
and that's, for some reason, we put that on a pedestal, and it's like, wow, like, good for you, man.
Right.
And then when I quit my job and started an online business, right, which is so new, online business, the fact that we can make it more than a living online is like new to people. So my friends, my family would downplay it, and they like, what the hell are you doing? Like, quitting your full-time job? Or they'd be like, Zane, how's your little website going? And it's like, and you
Your
know,
family, your mom is just like bullying you from the corner
yeah,
as a
how's
little
your little
website.
website?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's your watches? Um, but at the end of the day, and that's what stops a lot of people, again, like their friends or family, what people think of them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, those people aren't going to pay your bills. They're not going to help you live
Amen.
the life that you want to live. So you just kind of just got to say, fuck it, just do it. And unfortunately, I did lose some good friends in that process. But you grow, and sometimes your friends don't grow with you.
Yeah. That ain't that the truth. I mean, a lot of people get stuck in basically the social perspective. People love to label each other and put each other in boxes. And when you get out of that box and you start to climb out of it, it makes others uncomfortable. So,
Yep.
I question how good friends like that really are if they're not very interested in helping you ascend. It makes me wonder, because I've had a lot of that too. And it makes me wonder, well, what was the value you ever saw in a relationship to begin with, if it wasn't
Yeah.
about helping each other?
Yeah. When you want to do something with your life, it casts their own life in a dim light, as Jordan Peterson likes to say. And it makes them, when you start to do something, you start to achieve something and go after something more, they start to think about their own situation. Like, well, what am I doing? I'm kind of just working at this job that I don't really like. And so, to not feel uncomfortable, they want to keep you down where they are.
Right. They want to project that limiting belief onto you, so they don't have to basically
Yeah.
accept the ownership of where they are in life, because they see you changing your life by yourself. And they're like, well,
Yeah.
that means I could do that too. Then at all costs, he can't do that. So that way I can continue to be the victim of my life and not take responsibility.
Yeah,
It's very childish.
exactly.
Very childish. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of psychoanalysis and philosophy we're going to be getting to soon here. Please carry out the story. So we're at Three Pines. Are you finished with it now?
Yeah. So let's see. I started, like I said, I quit my job March 29th. I went all in with Three Pines with these watches. And by then, on the previous e-commerce brands I started, I lost a lot of money on Facebook because I had no idea what I was doing.
How much?
Total on probably with Three Pines, I blew through like $6,000 that I didn't have. So my bank, that was all through all my savings, everything, all the money I ever earned,
Wow.
all the money I earned from Three Pines. And plus my account was in the negative. I hated checking my account because it was negative like $700 or something like that. I should say though that I am very fortunate to have lived with my girlfriend who had a house. So I had that to fall back on. And I know, not everybody has a situation like that.
But we all have our advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember us together, we were doing a work session at the public library and we took a Chipotle break. And I remember you spotted me for a Chipotle burrito like a week ago. And then I was like, I'm poor, I'm broke too. I had just gotten into entrepreneurship. I quit my job, all that. My family doubted me. It's kind of just lone wolf thing. And I remember I asked you, I was like, well, he spotted me last week. I'll just ask again. I'm like, hey man, can you spot me? You're like, no, I'm negative. And I'm like, what do you mean? And you're just like, look, and it's like negative. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, how are we even in line right now?
Yeah. I don't know. We found a way to get Chipotle still.
We did.
Like a drug addict.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, so what I found the most success with Three Pines, with that e-commerce brand, I was scared of running ads at the time. I'm like, screw it. I do not want to run these ads.
Right.
So I just try to do it organically. And as everybody just saw earlier, my Instagram. So I would order the watches and I had a nice camera and I just took photos of them. And I posted those photos, linked to my website. And then I just did the Instagram automation stuff where I follow people, unfollow, build up, engage with people that way. Yeah. And then when they would follow the account back, they would get an automated message that said, hey, John, thanks so much for following. Here's a discount code off your first watch for limited time. And I think I gave him like 20% off, 30% off or something like that.
Very, very simple marketing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I got the most success with that than anything that I did. And it wasn't substantial success by any means. The most I sold was probably like 3 or 4 watches in a day. And that was on like a really good day. There were often days I didn't sell anything. I didn't make any money. And when I'm giving people 30, 40% off, I'm selling the watches for $150. I'm buying them for 30. My margins get slimmer, So that's where I primarily had success, which, and that automation thing actually led into my next business. So I was doing this automation thing. I was following people, unfollowing, and I was having success with that. I was making money with that, but I was frustrated. I was still down on myself because it wasn't where I wanted to be. It was barely enough to pay my bills. And my girlfriend has a genius idea one day. So this Instagram automation software, you can add multiple accounts. So I think I could have added like 10 accounts, and the only one I had was my watch brand.
I'm seeing a trend where your girlfriend comes up with amazing ideas.
Yeah, exactly. She's the mastermind.
Yeah.
So she says, well, hey, why don't you just run this automation software for like other people if it's working for you, and make money that way.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's not gonna work. Nobody wants that. And a couple months go by. I still don't have substantial success with Three Pines. It's my first business. We go through school learning nothing about business whatsoever. So I'm just learning from trial and error.
Not even nothing about business, but nothing about just how to make money, how to do our taxes, how to budget correctly, how to do accounting, how to even have like a conversation, like even good conversation skills, which people don't understand. Yeah. One of the best business books there is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And you wouldn't think that just by reading the cover, but most of business is just dealing with people. Business is just this label we've put on this thing to make it seem kind of impersonal. But like what you're doing right now is, which we'll be talking about later in this interview, but is just like one-on-one stuff, talking to a person, helping them out, meeting them heart to heart, and then using your knowledge to help them apply things that help them in their life. And a lot of that's good communication and understanding how people work. We don't learn any of that in school.
Yeah, I think another thing, one other lesson that I've learned throughout this journey is communication is the most powerful skill that you can have. And
Yeah.
if you really think about that, it's true because communicating can get you anything you want, you know.
It will
So
help you. It can help you network with someone that can teach you a whole lot and help you better your life. It can help you sell something. It can help you
yeah,
have something like this, an interview where we can
yep,
share our stories, share free value, and show it to the people who are watching right now. Uh,
exactly.
improve your relationships. 100%. I think a lot of people have this mixed up idea about business that the only people who win are like the Mr. Burnses or the Scrooge McDucks of this world, people who scam others. But the
Hmm.
thing is the second you get into business, you realize that if your business is really simple or if it doesn't deliver on the promise it's selling, it's not going to last long. People are going to catch on to you and they're going to stop giving you their business, or worse, shut you down, or worse, get their money back from you somehow. Um,
Yeah,
I think both in our experience, we found that basically the quickest way to make $1 million is to help 1 million people.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Just adding value.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I've learned, you know, communicating, it translates to everything, every single thing we do. Getting business partnerships, selling a product to somebody. Even we elect a president of the United States because they were better at communicating with everybody else than the other, you know, candidates. So
Donald Trump is our president right now, and he is measured at speaking at a fourth grade vocabulary. Now, that might
yeah,
be something to laugh at initially, but it reaches more people than say 11th
yeah,
grade vocabulary. So it's almost ironically very intelligent, very strategic. It's taking it's taking a vehicle that's very simple and then packing with as much as you can to get your message across.
exactly. Yeah,
No,
yeah. Um, so I mean, just going back to let's see, going back to the story, I I finally decided to listen to my girlfriend. I decided to start running this Instagram automation thing for people, not thinking anything of it, not thinking that it would become a substantial business or anything. Um, and what I did to get customers, because at this point, I still don't have money for ads. I'm barely scraping by with my.
so with Three Pines, you realize that the marketing you were doing itself could be a service, and so now this is a new business.
Exactly. The automation I was doing, sending people messages, giving them a discount. Um, my girlfriend was the one that brought it up. She's like, "This is working for you. Why don't you run this as a service?"
Smart.
And because you know we live in an Instagram era. Well, I mean more so
Social media.
2018,
Yeah.
um, where everybody wants to grow on Instagram. Everybody wants followers. Everybody wants to be an influencer,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I built up a decent following with Three Pines. I think I had like 10,000 followers or something like that.
Yeah, you did.
So so what I did was some like black hat stuff that I should have not been doing at all, right? But business is all about learning. It's all about lessons. It's all about learning to do more meaningful stuff and adding value. But
Right.
what I did at first was I purchased email lists and I downloaded emails, and I had a tool where I could like go to Facebook groups and just like get emails of people. So what I would do, I would take my account, I would go to um an Instagram follower Facebook group, obviously, right? Because they want followers on Instagram. So I would download their emails. I would get like 10,000 emails. I would send out a mass email broadcast. Hey, so and so, I saw that you have 9,000 followers on Instagram. I really think that I can help you get some more followers. You know, let me know if this is something you're interested in. And so I that was a bad idea. Do not do what I did because I got banned from every single email platform that I tried to join. I joined MailChimp. I got banned instantly. Active Campaign banned.
Yeah.
And you used to be able to do that kind of stuff back in the day when the internet was relatively new. I mean, it still is, but like email, when email was first around.
For those who are not pros at business yet, as you grow an online business, you get people to opt into your websites and stuff that give you an email that then you can send out mass emails that will send. If you're like a product or something you want to sell, you can send out a mass email to everyone who's ever opted into your website before. Um, Zane, you just
Yeah.
purchased like
And I
100,
just,
10,000 emails illegally and blasted them with spam.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And I didn't think I was doing really,
Anything
you
wrong?
know, too much wrong. I was like,
Yeah.
it's just an email. I'm just sending emails to people. And you can more so do that back in the day. And now spam rules are strict and everything like that.
Right.
But I changed up my approach, and what I did was I just went to people's Instagrams. So I would find just like influencers on Instagram, right? That weren't exploding yet, but they obviously wanted to be an influencer because they had nice photos. They had somewhat of a following. So a lot of time, Instagram will let you just find their email right away. And so I started doing that instead. And so I started emailing people one by one, just taking their email from Instagram. And I was email probably 50, 100 people a day. And I started to have success with that. People started to sign up. I totally forgot to mention, actually, the first person who ever signed up for my service signed up for $147 per month. And I did the same thing. I got him to buy the same way I did with Three Pines. I found someone on Facebook who was probably interested in my service. I added them and like say, oh, this is an excellent service. Like I've heard great things about it if you want to grow. And his name was Lenny. I still remember his name, and he was from Portland also, just like I am.
Wow. It's next door neighbor.
Exactly. And when I saw the payment of 147 come in, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe, and that's every single month. He's paying me every month for this service.
So you just went from selling like a watch for $150 to now getting someone to pay for the service that you use to market your watches for $150. But now it's on a retainer. Now it's on a subscription. So you get it every month.
Yeah.
And I also want people to understand that this is like the third business you've made now that you proved to yourself it can work on a larger scale and make it worth the marketing by first basically getting what I like to call a proof of concept by just talking to someone organically and seeing if you can talk them into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what you got to do sometimes, right? Just literally just have a conversation with people, where so many people get into business and they're like, oh, let's just run ads right away and get rich. And that fails, so many times, just because when you're first starting, you don't understand the principles of business. You don't understand how to add value. You don't understand how to communicate, how to sell people.
Yeah.
And so I should mention also, for the service, I was paying $20 a month for 10 accounts. And you can upgrade, get more accounts than that. But I had pretty decent margins on that. I mean, $147, that was $127 of profit. And then when I got more people, it's even more profit. So I sold him. I started messaging these influencers one by one. I started getting some clients. I couldn't believe it. I had people signing up. What I initially did that really started giving me success was I did a free trial. I did a $1 trial for 7 days or 3 days or something like that. And so I got to probably five or six grand just from that. Just from emailing people one-on-one, $5 or $6 grand a month. So I'm almost at six figures at this point, and I can't believe it. So in December.
And that's an exponential jump from your last business. I mean, real quick, how much did you make like with each business up to this
one? Elephant business, I made probably $12.
And what about the t-shirt business in college?
T-shirt business, I made, I didn't even call that a business because I kind of just stopped it, but I probably made like $600, $500 from that.
What you call the the elephant hat business a business?
No, I would not call that a business.
Right. Cool. And how much for the Three Pines? How much did you make in total? What was the profit?
In total for Three Pines, I probably made
the watch company
20,000 revenue, but like 12,000 profit or 10,000, somewhere around, like nothing substantial at all. Right. And that's over the span of like 4 or 5 or 6 months. I didn't start the Instagram thing till maybe August or September, and I started Three Pines in March. So that 10 grand is over the span of quite a few months. So yeah, in December of 2018 was my first $8,000 month. And really what changed is I decided to start running ads. So there is this, I had a friend of a friend who had this friend, in India who was supposed to be like a Google Ads expert. Like Google flies him out to their this is a friend of Isaac that everybody saw earlier.
Sure.
So Google flew him out apparently to their headquarters. He sits like front row at all their events. He's like the guy, right? And so I asked my friend.
A warm hello to Isaac if you're watching this right now. Hope you're doing
Yeah,
great.
I hope Isaac's watching this.
No.
So I asked Isaac to set me up with this dude. I was like, man, I want to grow this business. I'm seeing success. Can you please set me up with your Google friend? And like, this guy has been talked up. So I'm thinking like, this is the man. This is the guy that's going to make me rich. And so I finally get to book a meeting with him. He is, I think it's like 7 or 8 o'clock here at night, and it's like 9 a.m. his time or something like that. I video chat with him for the first time ever talking to him. I'm spacing on his name. I think he went by like Joe or something like that. But
that was like easy name for Americans.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm talking to him, and he sounds promising. He's like, "Oh yeah, man, we're gonna explode your business. Like, you just got to run Google Ads to this, and you're gonna be a millionaire." And then he was like talking himself up. He was sitting at this like desk, this big grand desk.
Yeah.
He was like, "You know where I live?" And I was like, "Nope." And he's like, "Well, I live in the Beverly Hills of India," or something like that. I don't remember what he said, or where he lives, India or Bangladesh, somewhere around there. He's like, "I live in the Beverly Hills of Bangladesh." I was like, "Wow, nice. That's awesome, man." Anyways, I talked to him. He agrees to help me with my Google Ads. I add him to my Google account and everything like that. And he doesn't end up doing anything at all. And so I keep messaging him over and over and over. I was like, "Hey man, what's going on? I was just wondering, it's been a few days, and then it's been a few weeks, and then it's been a month, and what's going on? Like, are you going to help me?" And I just don't hear anything from him. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and try to run my own Google Ads, because I was like, you know what? How hard can it be? Like, screw this guy. He's not doing anything.
Wait, did you pay him?
No. He said I didn't have to pay him. He said that he just likes to help out fellow entrepreneurs and make the world a better place. And when I make a lot of money, I can pay him if I feel like.
Wow.
And maybe that should have been a red flag right there. But anyways, I watched like an 8-hour or 12-hour Google Ads course on YouTube. I highly recommend it. It was very helpful for me. It was a free video on YouTube. Hopefully Google Ads, by the time you're watching this, are still somewhat the same, but it's like Google Ads beginner to expert. It's like a 10-hour video. I watched that. I said, screw it. I'm going to run my ads. I launched some ads, and I was, these are the Google search ads. When you search something, it pops up at the top, and it says ad next to it. And so I was trying to run ads for keywords like Instagram followers, grow on Instagram, how to become an Instagram influencer. And the first or second day of running my ads, I got like 3 trial clients, and I didn't have to do anything. That was all automated. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I think I was running these ads at like $20 a day.
Yeah.
$30 a day, $30 a day or something like that. But in December was my first $8,000 month. And I went from 5,000 to 8,000 because I just started running ads, and I was getting a ton of clients, and there was a lot of people, fortunately, that wanted to grow their Instagram.
And how much were you spending for the ads?
I was at first spending $20 a day. As soon as I started getting clients, I'm like, I got to ramp this thing up. I started spending $50 a day. I'm like an all or nothing kind of guy. So I think I got up to like $300 to $500 a day, which was insane. But I started to build up a substantial, substantial clientele.
Uh-huh.
And in January was my first $10,000 month, January of 2019. And I went from 8,000 to 10,000. The only reason I didn't grow more is because Google shut down my account in in December.
What? Yeah. If you were spending 500, you made, that's like $15,000. So were you making more than that the whole time? You were always profiting.
Yeah, I was usually profitable. I think what I did, I was running at $50 a day, $100 a day, and I just kept trying to like bump it up until I got to $300 or $500 a day. And then it kind of like capped out at a certain point.
Hmm.
So I think what was like a steady amount for me was like $100 or $200 a day to get me clients.
Gotcha.
Um, Google shut me down in December. I think like my bank account got declined or something like that. And Google hates that. Like if your card gets declined,
Wow.
they were
Black.
not a fan of that.
So now you're blackmailed from all these email platforms and now
Yeah.
Google.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, and then we're about to come to the end of this business. So
Yeah. So basically I made 10 grand in January, February. After that, I made a substantial jump. I
so
went
you're
to
a year into entrepreneurship now.
a year into entrepreneurship. I got to 10,000 a month uh, within my first year, which was crazy to me. At first, I thought I was going to do it sooner because of these Shopify guys, but I got to 10,000 a month within my first year. I couldn't believe it. It was awesome. I was making more than most of the people I knew. The month after that, I got to $23,000 a month.
Yeah.
And then shit hit the wall. PayPal banned me, which was probably a quarter of my business. And they banned me because my business was like not acceptable to PayPal or something. And for those of you who have never used PayPal before, never been banned from PayPal, when they tell you it's over, like it's over, there's nothing you can do about it. Like they will not answer the phone. You can't even call them, and they hold all your money for like 6 months. And so that just
Brutal.
within overnight wiped out a quarter of my business. And I was in Italy living lavish with my girlfriend. I took my girlfriend to Italy for Valentine's Day and her birthday.
Yeah.
And I was like driving a Lamborghini in Italy and stuff. I spent like $300 to drive a Lamborghini for 15 minutes. We were spending at least like $100 on every dinner, and I was just living lavish. And
I remember helping you hack your flight for that so you could get like the cheapest possible.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sounds like it didn't really matter though.
No, it's nice to get cheap flights.
Yeah.
But once over there, we were living pretty lavish. We were staying in nice hotels. We were eating fancy dinners, driving Lamborghinis. Took a tour of. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge car fan. So yeah. So visiting the Ferrari Museum, Lamborghini Museum. Pull up a photo here.
Yeah. Just so people get an idea of where you were going.
Yeah. Let's see. It's probably more so in. I have a story. This is before. I have a story highlight of just Italy, but yeah,
There's your girlfriend Mackenzie.
that's Mackenzie. This is in Rome. This is a CC, beautiful place. I really like the CC. We were there in February actually, so most of the stuff was closed, unfortunately.
Oh, is this a place you were staying in?
This is a hotel we were staying in Florence.
Wow, beautiful. Expensive. Yeah, Italy is not cheap. Rome is not cheap.
I had 2 dinners that night. Yeah, we were living lavish. We're having a good time in Italy.
Yeah.
As we should. I mean, like I said, it was my girlfriend's birthday and Valentine's Day, so I wanted to, live it up. But again, I got that PayPal message while we were in Italy. And overnight wipes out a quarter of my business, and PayPal also stops processing the payments. So all these people I had on subscription on recurring payments, all their money stopped. I stopped getting a quarter of the funds I had. Also with that, obviously Instagram's not a huge fan of automation. And so they started cracking down more. I started to have more problems with my clients. They're like, what's going on? I'm getting blocked from liking. I'm getting blocked from following people. They were not getting the right service. Some of my clients they're getting a bunch of followers from like a country they had no idea where it was from, or like a lot of like explicit content accounts.
You were getting some pretty angry voicemails. Some of your clients found
I had angry clients that were not happy with me, and I was honestly stressed during that Italy trip, and I was working a lot. I was unfortunately I had to work. I mean, I needed to, make it right and give the people the service they paid for and make sure my business stayed afloat. So in the morning, I had probably 200 or 300 emails every single day while we were in Italy. And so in the morning, I was just answering emails. I was answering emails. I was working for 3 or 4 hours in the morning, maybe 2 hours in the morning, and then 3 or 4 hours at night. So I was still working quite a bit while we were supposed to be on vacation.
Right.
And so all this stuff started to happen. Instagram started to flag these accounts. PayPal shut my account down. I'm like, okay, this is not great.
So from all fronts, your business basically shuts down as you're spending a lot of like top
As I'm
dollar,
spending money, yeah.
in Italy. Yeah. While you're trying to treat your girlfriend.
Yeah, and so I started to slow down a little bit towards the end of the trip because that happened kind of in the middle. Um, and the whole time while we're taking the trains all throughout Italy, taking train rides, that are 5-6 hours, I'm just sitting there. I'm meditating. I'm reading. I was reading 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. I was reading Principles by Ray Dalio, and the whole time I'm planning. I'm like, okay, once we get home, I am grinding. I'm going to make this work. I am going to find out a way to automate it, because every time this was the most bootleg business ever. So when someone went to my website to sign up for a trial, I had no coding experience. And so I didn't know how to connect it with this software that I was using. So it wasn't automated. So what would happen is I would get an order, someone signed up, and I would have to go manually enter their information into the software, which would take some time. And I was using VPS, and it's, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a virtual private server, because the program only worked on PC. I had a Mac, it wasn't compatible, so I had to open up a software that was
Yeah, and I just want to say right now, what's amazing about your story so far is we're only about halfway through now before we get to your last couple of businesses and the one you're still working on presently. But there's a lot of obstacles you ran into and a lot of big mistakes you made that made it almost seem like, how do I even move forward? I don't have my advertising platform. I spend all this time learning. I have no way to get an email list. I have over 100 angry clients. I mean, a lot of people might just pack it in at this point. And also you're saying things like VPS and you're talking about all these systems. A lot of people today think an online business means you have to be techie, and you certainly have a talent with technology and computers, but even that doesn't make any of this easier.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Steve Jobs was seen as, the founder, the CEO of Apple, and it's really Steve Wozniak that did all of the work. Steve Jobs didn't really know how to code, and he wasn't, he wasn't super techie either, but he still had massive success. And really, that's just being an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, your job is to solve problems and adapt to the situation and figure out a way around things.
Right. And I'm really excited to, once we get past the story, I have a couple questions I really want to ask you about kind of the character that you bring to business now, your philosophy with it, and how it's changed from kind of just money making to meaning and impact. But
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah. All these businesses up until this point was just for money, which was, which a lot of people are motivated by money when they're first starting, but you find that that's not sustainable in the long run. So this was, again, now that I'm talking about this, the more crazier it sounds to me, because I can't believe I went through all this stuff. So I had this virtual server that I was controlling, this remote PC somewhere in the world with my laptop, because again, this program was not compatible on my computer. So I was doing everything manually. I was entering these people into my software manually. I had to answer hundreds of emails every day while we were in Italy. I was working for hours. PayPal, I was dealing problems with them. Instagram was shutting down my accounts, or they were suspending people from taking actions. My clients were not happy.
Just and to be clear about that, Instagram essentially banned the service you were giving people just out of nowhere.
Yeah, Instagram has not been a fan of automation ever, but they didn't outright ban, and they didn't outright ban all of the people that were using it. They just started making it really hard on me, because this software knows that Instagram doesn't like it. So they take precautions to work around Instagram.
Right. But basically all I'm saying is that this business that was like this easygoing passive thing that allowed you to pay top dollar in Italy
Yeah.
immediately became this thing that needed all this more attention
Yeah,
overnight.
exactly. Yeah. So basically I said, okay, I need to figure out a plan. I need to figure out on the train while we are in Italy, where our trip's almost over. I think we're riding the train from like Milan to Venice. And I started to plan out. I started to write notes. Okay, what do I need to do to make this work better, to make this an efficient system, systemize it? So I'm not having to enter these people manually. So I'm not having to answer all these emails. So after that Italy trip, first thing I did was I started working on a software. I completely forgot I started doing this, and I can't believe I started doing this. So after we get home, I start planning. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this a software. So rather than manually people going to my website and I'm getting an order and doing this manually, because I was getting so many orders, I couldn't handle it, um, along with my existing clients and helping them and answering all these emails. The workload was too big for one person now. So I wanted to figure out a way to automate it. So I started designing the software. I started paying a team in India after interviewing 20 different people on Upwork from Russia, from Ukraine, from India. I wanted a team to develop the software for me so I could automate it. So after about 2-3 weeks after getting back from Italy, I finally decided on a team from Bangladesh. They were decent price. They had decent work. And along with them, I hired another team for my customer support. So I had about 8 or 9 people working for my business at this point, my little automated Instagram business. And I knew that if I wanted to make this a long-term thing, I had to get on Instagram's good side. So I started researching, okay, how can I make Instagram like my business? Because this was not a long-lasting business by any means if I'm going up against Instagram. And basically, I was hiring a team to develop the software for me. I was paying them $200-300 a week. I had another team that was doing all my customer support, handling all my emails, and they were actually entering the accounts into the software for the time being before I got this automated software made, which, by the way, they said would take 6 months to build. And they were doing everything for me. So basically, I was paying $400 a week right now for all these employees in Bangladesh. And around that same time, um, while I'm trying to figure out how to turn this into a substantial business, while I'm trying to figure out how to automate it, how to figure out things with PayPal and stuff, how to figure out payments, I had all these problems. Around that same time, Alex Becker, who is a pretty successful online marketer, he's a digital marketer. He has a YouTube channel, 400,000 subscribers. I got an ad from Alex Becker, and I was watching his YouTube videos, when I first started, and I learned from him. So I looked up to the guy. He has a Lamborghini in his background always, so it's kind of
Real quick. We got only around 15 more minutes on the clock for this
oh right.
episode. Yeah. So
This is going on a while.
I'm going to need you to
All right,
basically condense the most
summary.
important parts of this story so we can get to a couple
Yeah.
more questions I want to ask you at the end there. And then
Okay.
next episode, we'll have a lot more to talk about too.
Okay. So yeah, basically, I saw Alex Becker. He opened a private mastermind where you could go out, learn from him in person.
And
You had to be
real quick. Alex Becker is an entrepreneur today. You can find him on YouTube. He has a ton of subscribers, and his net worth is at least $20 million.
Yeah, he's a pretty successful guy. So I applied for his mastermind thing. He said you had to be making at least 25 grand a month to qualify. I hopped on a call with him, and I couldn't believe I was talking to him. I didn't think it was actually going to be him calling me. I basically told him about my business, told him what I was doing, and he basically shit on my business. He was like, all right, dude, I've been in your shoes. This is not going to work, and you're going to cap out, and you're going to lose all your money, and you're going to be broke. But if you want me to help, if you want to make money, then apply for my mastermind. I'm not trying to sell you or anything, but this is what you have to do, or you're going to fail and lose all your money. I'm just kidding. He didn't quite say that, but something sort of
like it is. Yeah.
And his mastermind was $2,500 a month, which was more than anything I've paid for ever. So I said, screw it. I'm paying for it. I paid him $2,500. I flew out to Texas. I got to learn from him in person. It was pretty surreal.
Wait, 2,500 or 25,000?
$2,500 a month.
Okay. Wow. And how many months?
it was I think it was like a 6-month commitment or something like that.
Wow. Yeah. So that's quite the investment you made in yourself. I just
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
clear. So continue.
Invest in your knowledge, invest in yourself. So I flew out, met him in person. There's probably 20, 30 guys there, all doing the same thing, all doing online. They're more in the course space. They're more in the info space. I was the only one doing this weird automation thing. And these guys are like, I've been seeing them on YouTube. I've been seeing their ads like, throughout my whole journey. And now I'm seeing them in person. I couldn't believe it. They're making like 300 grand, 400 grand, 500 grand a month. And we're all here just in this mastermind learning from Alex. So what I learned in that 2 or 3 day mastermind, what changed the whole course of my business, that got me into information products, selling my knowledge, selling programs. And really that's because you have much higher margins, obviously, because you're just selling your knowledge. It's a lot more scalable, and you're kind of making a bigger impact in selling Instagram automation and getting people followers. So next few months, I went to, by the way, that mastermind was in April of 2019. So I switched completely. I went into running. So what I did was I made a course on how to do the same thing that I was doing, Instagram automation, and telling people how to start a business, because I didn't know what else to do. And then I realized that this is not going to work. I'm having so many problems with this, and other people will probably have problems with that too. And then I tried to start a bunch of different other courses on digital marketing, ads, stuff like that. And I had some decent, so basically at this point, Instagram automation business is done. I'm done with that. And I went all into this course thing, into info products thing.
And what were you teaching in the course?
So like I said, the first course I was teaching was Instagram automation. And I realized that wasn't going to work. I realized people were going to have a lot of problems with that. And then I switched to something, to like digital marketing and running Facebook ads and stuff like that. And I was selling this course through a webinar. And I started to have some substantial success with that, some decent success, 4 or 5 grand days. But I realized I battled with Facebook that whole time. They weren't a fan of my ads that I was running for that program. They weren't a fan of just like the marketing. And I'm kind of going pretty fast now through this whole thing. But basically what I want to say, like what I want to kind of like, if you can learn anything from this, is that I was starting businesses that were just to make money, that were expedient, that didn't really mean much. And I wasn't thinking about value first. I wasn't thinking about meaning. I wasn't thinking about what's going to be most fulfilling to me. What can I do to offer value, a ton of value to people? And that was the biggest mistake I've made throughout my journey as an entrepreneur. I was starting these businesses like a lot of people see, guys on Instagram with Lamborghinis, with mansions, with boats. And it can be very, very, very misleading. And it can cause you to start these businesses just because you see these guys living it up and you're like, damn, I got to go do that. I got to start this business. And it turns out not to work. And the reason why is because your heart's not in it and you're not really adding value. If you could, the only thing you need to know, and the biggest lesson you need to know is your business needs to add value. Why does your business exist other than to make money? And so I was starting all these businesses, Instagram automation, 3 Pines, this Instagram course, even the digital marketing course, were all just to make money because Alex said, you're gonna make a ton of money if you just get this course up right away.
Right.
And so, I just couldn't, I couldn't sell my soul to just make a ton of money. Like it hurt me. It hurt my conscience. I was like, I can't do this.
You couldn't sell it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. I couldn't sell it anymore because I started doing it. I started selling it.
Right.
I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Right.
And I started to shift my focus and shift my direction and start to do things more meaningful, things that are adding more value, things that I find fulfilling, things that are going to change someone's life. And that's what I've landed on now. And so, like Jordan Peterson says, do things that are meaningful, not expedient, because people think that you should just chase what's going to make the most money. People want to get rich, so they start these businesses to make money. But in the long term, that's really going to hurt you. And that's what's not going to make you the most money, because one, it's not going to last because your customers don't enjoy your product. You're not adding value. or your heart's not in it, so you're not going to stick with it. And when you're
And,
starting something that's meaningful, that's adding value in the long term, that's what really makes you the most money.
and also the businesses you were starting before, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were kind of based on trends. I mean, even with like the college business where you just
Yeah.
with your buddy on it, obviously that's only going to sell to so many people because it's an inside joke. Second was just drop shipping in general. You're just like, I'm going to sell a hat with an elephant on it. What
Yeah.
problem is that solving in the market? Why would people keep buying that?
Yeah.
Then with the Instagram thing, the Instagram automation, yeah, that was hitting a much bigger need than you ever had before. But it was hingent on Instagram allowing you to use a third party software, and it was also hingent on basically just kind of the influencer trend of Instagram. So everything was based on kind of trends and fads rather than you kind of getting down to the why do people buy anything? Why do people buy things at all?
Yeah.
And it's because people buy things because they want to transform themselves. They want to become better. They want to have a more satisfying life. And if they buy things that are trendy, well, things are trendy for a reason. They come and go. And so does that feeling of satisfaction they get from trendy things.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I just think that's what a lot of new entrepreneurs do is they just see these people starting businesses on Instagram claiming to make all this money and they're like, okay, I need to go do that. And it's, it's shiny object syndrome. It's chasing the shiny thing. It's chasing the money. It's chasing the cars. It's chasing the boats or whatever. So you're starting these businesses purely because you think it'll make you the most money, which is just going to hurt you. You're just shooting yourself in the foot.
And
So yeah.
yeah, and real quick, with all these problems you've had and all these businesses you started, I want you to answer one, how long have you been at entrepreneurship now? I know it's at least under 2 years, or is it around 2 years now? And two, how much have you made for yourself overall? Like how much money have you generated in revenue?
So let's see. It's a little bit over 2 years now. Like I said, I started along with side of my job January 17th. The last day at my job was March 29th. So it's just over 2 years doing this full time.
Wow.
As far as much money, I honestly, accounting is something I need to work on too,
Sure.
because that's one thing about me. My biggest weakness probably is organization and keeping track of everything. But I counted it up. I figured out the first year, and my first year was 160 grand in revenue, primarily from that Instagram
Right.
business, and profit I think was just over 100,000. But as far as like total, I'd have to get back to you on that. With the
Either,
course, I started having
yeah.
$4,000 or $5,000 days.
Yeah. Either way, I just want to show that, you've talked a lot about problems you've had, but all the way, I mean, when you take a step back, it's kind of an amazing amount of progress that you never would have guessed day one.
Yeah, yeah. It feels pretty surreal to say that like my first year, I generated that amount of money. Just mostly because my head down and I was just grinding and I was kind of stressed out and I wasn't really keeping track of it all.
Right.
But if I could, I don't have any regrets because you're learning lessons along the way and you learn to chase something more meaningful, or not chase, but build something more meaningful rather than chasing money. But now I've made a large shift in what kind of business I want to run, what kind of person I want to be. And rather than chasing the shiny object, I want to build something that's meaningful long term, that's going to make a big impact on somebody. And I find that really fulfilling. And to me right now, to me, that's more important than money right now, is just doing something fulfilling that's helping people. And part of that was I wasn't who I wasn't ready to start a business like this when I first started. So another thing too, as I've been working on developing my character and my values and having a strong moral compass as well.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean, as someone who's your personal friend, I would not see you coming on a show like this, being able to tell this story like around a year ago. But
yeah,
we only have around 5 minutes left, and I would really like to hear about. So you had the course, or you still have the course, but the thing about it is that it was kind of more general. It was just to a more generalized audience. You were just doing basic digital marketing, helping people generate leads for small businesses. Now what you're doing with the coaching, I mean, I would like to hear maybe like if you have any kind of a case study or example with a client you'd like to share about like how you're helping them? And what is it that you studied outside of business? What is it that you have an interest in outside of business that has brought in, as you say, like a sense of character and a sense of wanting to do things meaningfully? That's the word.
Yeah.
Into what you're doing right now to make money.
So, yes, my first course was, well, it was the Instagram thing, and I switched to digital marketing because, like I said, the Instagram thing wasn't sustainable. So I went into digital marketing because it was the first thing that came to mind. I didn't think too deeply about it. And still, I kind of had that shiny object syndrome. I was seeing these guys make a lot of money with digital marketing programs. And so that's what I went into. And the reason why it didn't work is because my heart wasn't in it. I was teaching people to generate leads for local businesses, which is an important thing to do, no doubt, but I wanted to make a bigger impact than that. And like I said, Facebook wasn't a fan of my marketing, and the marketing I was doing, again, was just expedient. It wasn't meaningful. It was just kind of like a shiny object type marketing, which I realize, my fault now. So my heart wasn't in that. And what I switched to now is more helping people turn the knowledge they already have, the current knowledge, the skills, the specialized knowledge they already have into a business, and trying to figure out how to monetize that, and just doing one-on-one clients right now. So I don't have a course for that at the moment. It's just one-on-one consulting. Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe your current niche statement right now, which I absolutely love, and it's very similar to what I'm doing now too, which is making an online-based business with something you already know, something like that.
Yeah, I help people turn what they already know into a six-figure online business.
Beautiful, concise.
And there's a book called 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. I highly recommend that book. It's absolutely changed my life. But what got me to the point where I want to do stuff that's more meaningful is just all of the businesses that I've started so far, seeing, I haven't had like substantial success with any of the businesses. And the reason why is because, again, they weren't adding massive value. They weren't meaningful to me. Yeah. So again, there's a saying that you don't have business problems, you have personal problems that reflect in your business, which I've found more true to, I found that more true than anything. I just had personal problems. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was chasing money. And
that comes from a common mentor of ours, and Sam Ovens.
Yeah, exactly. Great guy. So I realized, I just had more personal problems than anything. I needed to develop my character more, stop chasing the shiny object, start adding massive value, because value is what brings you success long term. Fantastic.
Well, to cap off this first episode, I just want to ask you one more question. And since this is where you came from, you're a college dropout. I want to know, what would you say to a smart, driven college student that is about to enter the real world? And what advice in the real world should they ignore?
Are they about to graduate from college?
They're either about to drop out or they're about to graduate.
And what advice should they ignore?
Yes.
I think that no matter what you're studying right now, no matter what you're majoring in right now, you should do, and I know a lot of people have sunk cost bias because they spend thousands of dollars on their diploma on college.
Real quick, can you explain sunk cost bias? Because everyone has that, and it needs to be more addressed.
So sunk cost bias is when you spent a given amount of time in something, or given amount of money into something. And even if you don't want to do it right now for any reason, even if it's not the best thing to do anymore, you still do it because you justify it by saying, oh, I already spent 3 years of my life trying to get this degree, or I already spent $100,000. So might as well finish it, even though it's not the best thing to do.
And it's also the place where you lost your money. It's where you lost your time, lost your energy. Exactly. It's like saying, well, I lost money playing the slot machine. Might as well just get it back there. Odds are it's showing you that that's not the place you should get it back from, because that's why you lost it there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as far as college, a lot of people have sunk cost bias. So they go into a job, they go into a career that they got their degree in.
Right.
As far as advice you should ignore, I mean, I think you should ignore that advice that I just, the scenario I just gave. I think you should do something that's fulfilling to you. I've learned that life is way too short to do something that's not fulfilling to you, to do something that you don't enjoy. My buddy Reese went to school for mechanical engineering, which is no easy degree by any means.
Right.
And now he's doing online fitness because that's what he enjoys. He's he's coaching people online, even though he spent, 4 years getting a degree, which is awesome. That fulfills him. He finds that, he enjoys that, and he's changing people's lives. He's making a difference because he finds it fulfilling.
Right. And this friend of yours who's a turned entrepreneur, he's also an amateur mixed martial arts fighter, right?
He's an amateur mixed martial arts fighter too. Yes.
So there's a lot of excitement and genuine interest he has to really fuel any kind of business he wants to go after. I don't know why he ever went to mechanical engineering with those interests also in mind. But,
yeah. Well, I was in mechanical engineering as well, and we had a lot of classes together. And I think we both knew the only reason why we were in it is because it would make us the most money out of any other degree. So again, we were chasing money.
Right. And ironically, through these 2 years, you found that the best, most sustainable way to make money is not to focus on the money, but to focus on the value you provide.
Focus on the value you provide, and focus on the thing that you're the best at. Focus on the thing that you find most fulfilling, because ultimately you'll be able to provide more value in that given area than anybody else because you love it. It's your passion. And you'll change people's lives. And really, that's what's going to bring you success long term. Not going into an accounting job that you absolutely hate because you got a degree in accounting and you're chasing it. It's funny that, this paradox that college students are in. They're chasing money, but they don't find it fulfilling. They hate what they're doing, but they're going into it for money. When really, when they just did something that was meaningful to them, did something that was fulfilling to them, naturally their passions would be injected into it, and they would be able to add more value than anything else, and that would really bring them more money long term.
Amen. Well, brother, the last thing I want to do on this call with you is just shout out your YouTube channel. You've been posting a lot of quality content the last couple of weeks, and I highly recommend everyone watching go check out Zane at Zane Cole. You can just type that in on YouTube. He'll come up. Do things that are meaningful. Is there anything else you want to say, brother?
Thank you for having me. I was super stoked to do this. And when we blow up one day, people are going to look back on this video as history being made.
Oh, we're already blowing up. The momentum is rolling. Nothing is stagnant in the universe. Inertia.
Very true.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm excited to have you on for another episode. This was an awesome, awesome show about your story and everything we can glean from it. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right. Ciao, ciao, brother.